Hello and welcome to MEMORAID. This is my brand new project involving this crafty little memory game. I'm very excited to dive into what it does, and I have a strict 60-minute time limit on myself to make all of this information fit within 60 minutes so that you can watch this in no longer than an hour and then get out there. There will be a bonus section at the end that doesn't count for the 60 minutes. So MEMORAID actually developed and came from a trick that I first published in 2015, which was called pseudo. That was a trick that I placed inside of some lecture notes, subsequently filmed with Penguin Magic, and it was a great trick, and it still is, and I still do that trick a lot. It uses playing cards, and you memorize the pattern of red and black cards, and then you separate them into 4 different suits. And then ultimately, from memory via elimination, so you were able to determine which card was hidden or chosen by a spectator. And I had all different ways of doing that over the years that involved under the spread forces and cross-cut forces and real memory and fake memory and by marking bicycle playing cards. It's been a great trick for me. And then as things progressed and time moved on, I decided a good few years ago now that I wanted to change the object. I'm a big advocate for changing things so that, the methods stay the same, but so it can feel very different. So that's what this is all about. So it does come from the world of pseudo, which, as I said, I came up with probably 2013, 2012. It's a trick that I still do all the time, and it's a trick that I still lecture all the time for magicians. And often when I do it, it's so convincing that I tell the room it's real memory, and only after I've performed the trick do I tell them it's all a trick. And the relief on everyone's face and excitement is kind of interesting. I wanted to make it look like initially a set of flashcards. So this, even though we're calling it MEMORAID, is to hide it from Google. So please don't online call it Memory Master. That's the prop. Because of Predictable, it turned into a game. And that was a change in the context that I think makes a huge difference and that I think elevates MEMORAID, aka Memory Master, into something more than just an image deck. It really changes the context. It really normalizes it. And there's a cool boatload of secrets built into this that I'm going to try and teach you in the next hour. As far as credits are concerned, obviously the idea of pseudo was something that came to me in 2015, 2010, somewhere between that. That utilized something by Lewis Jones called the pattern principle that we'll dive into later. It utilized marking the cards in a way specific to that trick and routine for me, so that the marks would tell me where to place the cards on the table. And then it also utilized a card force in various forms. This works very differently, but all of those things need to be mentioned. I also think it's important to mention and reference people like Michael Weber and Tim Trono and Real Secrets, because those guys are the people that have got this idea in my head of turning things into games. And Michael and Tim have some incredible tricks that I do all the time that are framed as games. If it wasn't for those guys and the jerks and Jack Kent Tiller's Memory Peel Act, I don't think any of this would have existed. So all of that said, that's a very brief history surrounding this, but I want to dive right into the deck itself, the prop, the box, and everything that it can do. And we're on the clock, so we need to get moving. So I said this already, but the core aspect to this that I find really exciting is the fact that this really is a game and really does look like a game. And I think now is a great time for you to really look at the box on the outside. You can see there's text here that links to the game. There's even the logo for how many players can play the game. There's a barcode on there. There's, of course, the description of the game. And it's also teasing this idea of joining the 1% club, which is something we'll come to later. 50 images. So all of this, to me, just screams like it's a real game you would find in a CVS or a Waterstones or a Target or any kind of bookshop around the world. That's what I like about this so much, is that people see this at home or they see you out there with this in the real world performing it, and it just flies under the radar. That's a big aspect, a big part of what makes this normal, just like with Predictable. So if you take a look at the box, this one opens on the top side with this nice flash of orange. If we take out the deck, you'll see a few other things in there. The box is super useful, but it's also, just like the Predictable box, very robust and strong for carrying this around. It also just looks great and interesting at home with any other game. I want to emphasize the context one more time of this being a game. It's the first deck of image cards that I've seen that is framed in the context of it being a memory game instead of just flashcards or something like that. With that being said, what I actually did was to sit down and really develop a memory game that you can play and should play with these cards. One, it will really help you improve your memory, but two, because of how the cards work, you're able to cheat at this game so that you appear to have a really good memory if you're that way inclined. But also, it just fully normalizes the deck. So I've spoken to people that make games. I've spoken to people that give out funding for people who develop games. I've been told that this absolutely could and should be a real game. But the great thing about this is you can have it laying around, and if someone says, what is that? You can say, oh, it's a memory game. We can play it if you want. So if you set the deck aside for a second, because it has a few interesting components, you'll see these two advertising cards. Remember, you'll never say this online anywhere when talking to other magicians, but you will, of course, call it this when you perform it for real people. The ultimate memory test we'll come back to, set that aside, but look at the how to play. Number one, shuffle the images and remove 5 at random, so let's do that. In 5 seconds, memorize the images and then turn them face down and mix them again. Okay, mix them again. Turn 4 out of the 5 face up, leaving 1 face down. I'll cover my hand on that. And it's the knife, okay? That's the Repeat incrementally by adding 1 card in 1 second per round until you find your limit. Advanced play includes multiple hidden images and less time. So this, simple though it is a real game that you can really play. I just think it's worth talking about that, the context and how fun that is, because you can really get to a point where you have a lot of images and you're building on the memorized images as you go. And then at some point it'll be too much and it'll overload your brain and you won't. And then the score will be how many cards you have. And you can explain this simple game to people in 5-10 seconds and they get it very quickly, and then it normalizes the deck and the images themselves. So that's one of the advertising cards. The other one is the ultimate memory test. This is a perfect lead-in and framework for the pseudo routine that I used to do and still do with playing cards. It's a 3-phase, very compelling memory routine. You're going to see me do it here and I'll teach it you in detail. So for now, don't worry about that. But it allows you a lead-in, so you can say here, look, the ultimate memory test. You can say to a friend, I've been trying to do this for ages. I haven't quite cracked it yet. Can you help me? And now you're working together to do this thing and achieve this challenge. It also acts as a great hook, right? It acts as a great way into the trick. So I think, you know, you can bring this out, play the game. Someone might notice this and they might bring it up, and then you can go into the trick itself. So the box is literally the highest quality we could find. It was designed by the same person who designed Predictable, and she's an incredible designer. The box just looks real, it looks amazing, and I love the colors and I like how this kind of steps, and it's just amazing. So you can see that for yourself. That's the box. The 2 ad cards you've seen have this Memory Master kind of branded back. And what's good about these, and we'll talk about this more later, because it says Memory Master, and it has the artwork that's also on the back of the rest of the cards, it means that you can have like one of these with you, like the how to play card on top of the deck, and band that, and now it again looks like a game, so you don't need to carry the box, but it still gives it the context of it being a game. Half of them are coloured, but they're amazingly drawn out and designed and custom, special, made for this. And then we have the other half of them that are this line drawing style. And the way you justify that and talk about that to someone that you're performing this for is that half of the images are line drawings, they're black and white images because they're harder to remember, and the other half are coloured images because they're slightly easier to remember. And now it makes sense that you have this split and divide of 25-25, but it also allows us to achieve extra things with this deck that really make it interesting in terms of it being a magic prop. I should also say that we did not cheap out on the card stock. It's made on the same stock as Predictable. It's ultra expensive, to be honest. German cardstock, it's super high quality. It does faro shuffle, but you won't need to do that with any of the tricks that I'll be teaching. They're cut really nicely, finished really nicely. They spread, they just look like quality. You can see that kind of woven texture on there. And they're super durable, they'll last a long time. So all of that is great, but it's important because I really want you to be using these and them to last a long time and not just fall apart and flake on the corners and stuff. So they're really high quality, as is the box. The printing is great. The design took a very long time and they look amazing. And then we come to this part of it, which is just, I think, really the crux of everything is the back design. This is a 50 image deck that's openly but totally secretly marked. So you can have someone take out any image and I can know that that's the planets just by a very quick look at the back of the card. And you're not decoding that from a number or some symbols or some lines or anything. You're literally just looking at the image that's on the face of the card, on the back of the card. So I'll show some close-ups of where this is, but you can see, if you look at the backs yourself now, in the top left corner, you can see the different here. So for example, that's the keys, and that's the aeroplane. It's a snowflake. It's a pine cone. And you really just need to spend 5 minutes going through and looking at the back. I can see that's a clock. It's that simple. So that's one amazing aspect of MEMORAID, that it really does aid you to look like you can remember all of these cards in a really easy way. But it also has other hidden markings. One I'll save for the very end. It also has the same compass mark, as I've started calling it, for the pseudo routine. So if you look in the very top left, you'll see a flower, and you'll see that petal is either at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 9 o'clock. It's coloured in white. And that, for the ultimate memory test, will tell you exactly where to place the card on the table as per the group that they will fall into. Which brings us to an interesting place. We did not just divide these cards into half black and white, half colour for no reason. We did this specifically so that all of the line drawings are man-made things, and all of the coloured images are natural things, things like trees, pine cones, the moon, the sun, stuff like that. The man-made things, keys, car, umbrellas. And they're all different lengths of word as well. So within those two categories, we then have subcategories as well, which are 5 letters or less, or 5 letters or more, on both sides. So those petal markings, actually, if you go through and place the cards in piles as per the markings, you will then be able to look through the groups and see which one correlates to which group. So over here, you can see this, we have coloured images. These are all natural things. We have eye, we have brain, we have sun, we have lemon. They're all natural things that are really in the world, but they're coloured images because they're natural, and they are all 5 letters or less, and they're on the left side. So all of the short words, think of them on a horizontal plane, they're laying down, they're shorter, not tall. And over here on the right side are all the words that are 5 letters or less, like clock, plane, keys, phone, or money. 5 letters or less, these are all black and white, and these are all man-made. So these are the short words, horizontally going across. The lines that are vertical, pointing towards you in this case, are the longer words, 5 letters or more. They'll be coloured, and because of that, they are natural. So we have snowflake, we have planets, pine cone, and a flower. And then in vertical sense, in this way, these will be man-made things with 5 letters or more, but line drawing. So we have wine glass, chess piece, ice cream. And this is important for the ultimate memory test routine. That's what this compass mark is. And it's so that you don't have to see that it's an ice cream and then think which category that goes into. But instead, it will just tell you where to place the card. And we'll come to all of that later. And we'll also talk about how you can use these 4 categories in super interesting ways to have a memory-free stack, to do long-distance versions of mind reading with this deck, all sorts of stuff. But for now, forget about that, don't worry about it. But just understand that there are many things built into the backs of these cards so that you can read them easily and see a lot of information just by holding the card like this. Also, because of where we place the marks, if you want, you can cover them with your thumb and little finger. Should you think anyone's looking, they're not, I promise you. I've been out there using these. People don't see them at all. They don't suspect. And what we did was make the back use all the illustrations from the face of the card, so it acts as a crib in a sense, but also so that it just looks so natural and in keeping with the faces of the cards and the context of the game that nobody would ever suspect anything, and I can promise you they really don't. So we've got that perfect balance of easy to read, but also well hidden in plain sight. So I think this is a very important, but probably very obvious thing to talk about, is how do you introduce this? And the answer, honestly, is it depends on where you're performing it. But if you're performing this for friends, in a coffee shop or at home or for family or something like that, I like to keep them in the box. I like to leave them out and let people ask what they are. And you know, if I really want to perform it, I can introduce it as a game because it really looks like that, but it's great if you let people ask you. If it's in the box, I introduce it as a game. If it's not in the box, I still do the same thing. That's because of these add cards, say Memory Master, and then have how to play on. So whether I'm using the full deck or half the deck, I really like to at least keep one of these add cards on and some kind of band around the deck. And then I just introduce it as, oh, this is part of a memory game. I think it's something like you match up the cards or do groups or something, but we're not going to play that. I think it's worth just thinking about how connected people are to memory. What you may not know about me is that I really have spent the last 10 to 12 years being out there in the world doing memory shows. And for groups big and small all over the world, and I know from experience that people really connect to the idea of having a bad memory, and they all aspire to have a good memory. So something like this can not only be a fun game to play, which it is, and it can not only be amazing as a magic trick, as a demonstration of false memory, and it can not only improve your memory, which it can if you really play the game, but it can also just be a piece of magic that people really connect to because they're kind of inspired by it and amazed by it. And it doesn't have to be done as a show-off thing. It doesn't have to be, hey, look at my big brain, but it absolutely can be. And I think what makes this so exciting for me, and I hope that transfers across to you, is the limitless potential available with this tool that's framed as a game. So I just want to cover like the odd basic element to this, to using a mark deck, little tips that I think make a big difference. And I want to talk about how we might peak those marks and when we might peak them. And you'll see in the ultimate memory test, my favorite way to use the marks is to have somebody wash the cards all over the table. That's because it disrupts the orientation of the card. But there are times when I will spread these on a table and I can from here very clearly and openly see all the different marks. And as someone takes one out, I can know that that's the boat, for example. And it can be that direct and simple. I think it's worth thinking about when you'll look at these, when you peek them. So I'll bring them out, introduce them as part of a memory game, have a band around them, set that away, and then I'll let someone shuffle them up. And in their hands, I'll read the mark. I think the key to this is confidence. I think being confident, not being nervous, not looking at the cards until you need to and until you're justified to, will go a long way. So if the cards are shuffled up and I want to read the mark and I'm having someone take one, this will all kind of link in with what we're about to cover. I might messily spread them because I don't want to look like I can perfectly handle cards, and let them take one and not even look at the cards yet. So please reach in, take one, great. Or you can say touch one if you would like extra time. Okay, great, that one, please take it. And in that action of me out jogging it or breaking the deck, I look down and hand it to them, and that's when I see the mark. It's not always that way, but I think it's worth thinking about. And I also think now is a perfect time to dive into the ultimate memory test, which is why this whole thing exists. One of the things that come with this game that I found is called the ultimate memory test. Mm-hmm. And what we just did is interesting, but we only used a chunk of the pictures. The whole pack is, I think it's like 50 or so. It's a split of colour, non-colour, it's around 50. I think they're all in there, I'm not fully sure. But the ultimate memory test, I've contacted the people who made this game, and the idea behind it is that this is the thing that keeps people playing with this game. Okay. Because it's meant to be hard to crack. So I want to try and do it. Honestly, I've not successfully done it all yet. I'm always a little bit wrong. So we'll try and do this together. Okay. This is your script, as it were, but what you'll do here is go through with me the different challenges. There are 3 of them. So the first part you can see, shuffle the images, which I know we already did, but let's do it again. Scramble them on the table. You can do that for me, please. Yeah. And then take your finger like E.T. And then place it down on one of the images, but face down, just a random one so you don't know. Okay. Which one? This one? And then put it inside the box. I really won't look. Take the box from me.
Can I look?
Don't look. Keep it as a surprise for both of us, okay?
Okay.
Put the lid on the box, please, Lee. And we'll put this. Really can't. It's in the box, right? I don't have X-ray eyes. It's over there. Okay. Scoop all these up. Okay, so challenge 1, what is that, please?
Cut off a group of images in less than 10 seconds. Remember the sequence of colour versus non-coloured images.
Okay. Read like an absolute pro. So cut some off, a little, don't go crazy because it will mess me up if you do too many. All right.
Down, face down, yeah?
Face down, please. All right, good. Set those off to the side. All right, that's a lot. I'll try and do this. Okay, this is kind of like before, but it is actually more difficult because I'm looking at the separation of colour, non-colour. Okay. Okay. Didn't even look in the direction of them. We're trying to do this just from memory, just like before. Over here, these should be the coloured pictures. Okay. They have a good memory, don't they, elephants? There's your cat from earlier, tree and a butterfly.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
And over here.
That's astounding, man. How the heck?
Okay, so we can elevate this a little more. What's challenge 2, please?
Next one is with a larger group of images, remember the sequence in as much detail as possible. You have only 5 seconds.
5 seconds, okay. So cut some more off. Go for about half of what's there.
Half, yeah.
Yes, please. Okay, these will go off to the side. Thank you so much. All right. I need to spread these out first, then you can start the 5 seconds, because what I'm about to try and do, believe it or not, is more difficult than the grid on the table before. Okay. And it's harder than this. There's more intricacies going on, which I'll explain in a second. All right. So make sure they're all visible and start the 5 seconds now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, not looking. Okay. I get ahead of myself in my head, and then you know when you overthink something and you start questioning yourself, that's what's starting to happen here. Nope, there. So this one. Okay, this time, right? These are coloured images just like before.
Yeah.
So I did the opposite.
Okay.
Which is fine. Okay. These ones black and white pictures. So flipped. A little more difficult than before. But if you look at these words, can you see they're 5 letters or less? Sun, apple, eye, dog, world, car, drum, money.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to separate them like that? Because these ones, there's quite a lot of these. These are longer words. Okay. Snowflake. Okay, so these are longer words in colour.
What the heck?
You see how crazy that is? 6 letters or more. Diamond, pinecone, pineapple, planet, snowflake. Over here, coloured images, which means that these ones, there's only one. This should be as well, I think. This is a long word. It's black and white. We know that. It's a man-made thing. It's something you would play. It's an instrument. It's a trumpet.
Well.
Okay, look, so there's actually another element to this challenge. It goes one layer deeper, and it's kind of like before, but it's harder. If you count cards, if you do this with playing cards, the way you can apply that skill in the real world is to go into a casino and really count cards. But the way you can really do it and win money is if you track not just the cards in real time, but also can remember what's happened in the past.
Right.
So if right now I look at the cards in real time, these ones that are left, really quickly, I'll try and do it as they fall as well, so in motion. And then if I can remember what's here and here, I should being the key word here, should be able to tell you which one's in the box. And just so we're ready, is it face down if I take the lid off that way?
Yeah.
Okay, so just so we're ready, put your hand on top of it so we're ready to go in a second. Okay, good. Because as soon as I say it, I want you to flip it over, okay? And hopefully flip out, but we'll see. All right. Telephone.
What? No, I don't get it. You couldn't have even seen those two.
They sort of double bounced, and yeah, well, I didn't see the balloon, so there's those moments where it's like a leap of faith. I have to make a choice.
I don't understand that at all. I'm trying to second guess you with all this, and obviously I can't, and I have no clue how you remember that. Literally a quick drop like that, and then it's baffled me. I'm amazed. Seriously. No, I can't figure that one out.
How would you feel if you could have a memory like that?
Oh my God, yes, please. Like the silliest things, like leaving a phone, keys, and all that are bad enough. But can you imagine having such a great memory, a productive mindset, if you like, so that you didn't have all these worries of forgetting stuff, birthdays and whatnot, and leaving stuff behind, having to go back. That whole section then, it baffled me, but I'm so intrigued with all this, especially because it would help me in the future, hopefully. But I'm just completely in awe because I have no clue how you would even manage to remember 50 odd cards and so quickly, yeah, I'm just totally baffled.
All right, so as you can see, the game is introduced, and I actually use the box in this routine, so I do need the box here. I'd like to bring out the advertising cards, let them see them like this on the table, and explain how this is a game, and it's a really interesting one. And we can play it later if you'd like, which we can, which I think is really cool. But there's this thing called the ultimate memory test. Can you take a look at that? I've been trying to do this for weeks. I haven't quite cracked it. It's really, really difficult. If you don't mind, we can try and do this together. So now we're in this situation where they almost have a script. They can guide me to go through the routine, and because of that, it flows nicely, involves them, and it feels like we're collectively doing something together. So preparation, shuffle the images and remove one sight unseen, one image sight unseen. So I let them wash the cards on the table, which means that everything is chaotically orientated, making everything even more invisible, even though it's already invisible on the backs of the cards. And I'm going to ask them to take one. So we're going to set one aside or remove one image sight unseen. I'll say, so point to one, please. This one. Okay, good. Do you like this one? Keep your finger on it. So I'm going to watch where they place their finger, and I'm going to read the mark on the back of the card. Perfectly justified. Which one would you like? That one? Don't move. I know we'll do this. And I'm going to act like I'm not, I wasn't intending to use the box this way, but okay, great. We'll place that inside. And that can go over there. So now I know that's the volcano, and I'm going to remember that. But don't worry, if you forget that that is the volcano, I've got you covered for later on. But now we have the end of the trick, the impossible revelation of what that is at the very end, but we don't worry about it for now. So now we know that's the volcano, I can give you a little secret that will aid your memorization of that throughout the routine. Apart from the rocket, every image in this deck is on the back of these cards, which is kind of amazing. So, as long as it's not the rocket, and if it is, I'll remember that because of its absence on the back. I can look there and see where the volcano is, which we know is in the box, which in this case is to the right of the clock, whichever way the card is orientated. To the right of the clock, and I can spot that. That will help me as I go through the routine. It will act like a prompt, so I can't forget what's in the box. If you do forget, I've got you covered. We've got an easy way we'll come back to, but that's just a little memory aid for you as we go through. Challenge 1, cut off a group of images and in less than 10 seconds, remember the sequence of colour versus non-coloured images. So they cut some off. If they cut lots off, I'm going to tell them to give me less because I need the rest of the cards for the other stages that we're going to do. I'm aiming to get like 12 to 15, maybe 18 cards, but no more. Ideally like 12 or so. And I'll teach you how I do this and I'll show you again what it looks like. I promise you I'm not looking at the marks. I'm going to look away and then you know these are shuffled. And I'm going to encourage you to learn it this way, and if you don't want to, I'll give you an even easier way to do it. So here we go. Okay, without looking at the cards from memory, I've tried to separate the coloured images from the non-coloured images, which means that over here on the right-hand side, here, these are all, and then over coloured images, you can see all of that over here. These are all the line drawings. So what am I doing here? How does this look so real, and why have I chosen to do it this way? Well, I'm using Lewis Jones's pattern principle. There's also things that exist like Rick Lax's binary code, but if you don't want to do any of that, I'm going to encourage you just to practice this part of the routine. Lewis Jones's pattern principle is not mine to teach here, it's really not. I first heard about it and learnt it from the Mental Mysteries of Hector Chadwick book, and that was a long, long time ago. And then from there I went and searched it out and found it in other places. It's a valuable tool worth knowing, but I can tell you this. Before I knew that, I already had a trick that I was doing, which was a mover card trick, a memory demonstration with cards, that was about memorizing a block of 12 to 15 cards in terms of color sequence. So it really is not that difficult to sit down and to really practice the skill of separating two things from each other. The way I'm doing that is by taking the cards and them being shuffled up. I'll shuffle them properly. I'm dealing through them, and as I'm dealing through, I'm memorizing the sequence of color versus non-color so that when I deal them out, I can deal them out without looking at the cards. And the reason I do that is I find that whether it's with this or with a marked deck, I think that by doing the first phase, by looking up at the ceiling and making this big gesture of looking away, it really, really sells the illusion that you're not looking at the backs of the cards or doing something like marked cards. So any suspicion they might have is gone from the get-go, and then you can turn those over as the coloured images and the black and white images. If you do not want to do that, you could do this. So you can imagine the 12, 3, 6, and 9, anything that's going right or down, think of that on the right-hand side, that'll be a black and white image. So anything on the right, going to the right or going down from your perspective, is a black and white image, and you can place those on the right, down towards you. If it's going forward or left, then they are coloured images, and you can place those on the left, closer to. So you end up with two packets like this, actually. So down and right is line images. So here is a line image, an umbrella. Those are the long and short words that are man-made things in black and white. And towards them, on the left-hand side, so left of you towards them, you can place the ones that are coloured, which instead of down and right, they are left and straight on. So if you want to use the marks, as you get used to really memorizing the cards, you can. And I recommend you practice this by really trying to memorize 10 or 12 cards. Do it by breaking it into chunks of 3 or 4 cards at a time, and you'll have no problem with it, I guarantee you. It's a good skill to have anyway. If you don't want to do that, or whilst you're learning that, as you go through, if it's right or down, it's going to go here. So that's right, that's left, And if it's left or towards them, it's going to go over here. So you're going to have two diagonal packets. So right and down goes here. And I'll just do this by looking at the cards, and then I'll talk to you about how I might make this more interesting in real performance. So all of these will be black and white images, and they are, and these will be the two coloured images. That's the octopus and a brain. There we go, octopus and a brain. And if you're not sure, you can just look at the backs. So what this is good for is kind of a safety net as you really learn how to memorize the sequence of colour versus non-colour, so that as you perform it, you can really practice that skill, but then you've also got the safety net in place should you need it. There are subtleties to this that you can use that I'm about to talk about for phase 2, but let's say you take some cards that are truly mixed up, and we'll shuffle them a little further. If you just do this, people will know you're just looking at the back of the card, so please don't do that. Instead, you just remember the first 3. So no, yes, yes in this case, right? And you might do another one. No, yes, yes, yes. So it's black and white, colour, colour, colour. The rest all go through. You pay no attention to them. So I'm thinking no, yes, yes. So I know that I can look up and I can go no, yes, yes, yes. And I'm going to take the next one and I'm going to pause. I'm going to look at where the mark is. So I know that this one now goes here because it's black and white and it's the computer. So, and as I place this, I'm going to look here. So what happens is I'm ahead all the time as I go through. Instead of just looking and then placing, or looking and then placing, looking and then placing, looking and then placing, what I'm doing is as I'm placing, I'm reading the next one. So I know that the next, and now I can look away as I place the next one. And then sometimes I'll take this one and go to put it here, and it does go there, and find that it doesn't. And it just breaks up that rhythm of looking at the cards the whole time. So to summarize very quickly, phase 1, I recommend that you really learn how to distinguish the two different groups, and that you will train your memory as you do that, and that's a good thing. Search out Lewis Jones's pattern principle. If you can't find that, Rick Lax has a thing called binary code on Penguin Magic. I'm sure all of you will probably already know of one of those two things anyway. If you don't know those, try grouping them and really memorizing them. It's nowhere close to as hard as it sounds, I promise you. And if all that fails, use the marks, okay? So you'll end with, in my case, I have the colored images on the right-hand side, this one here. Try and remember what's in the box. I know it's the volcano. I'll help you one more time, but I won't tell you until the end. See if you can memorize that. Look on the back of the card, see where the volcano is, and use that as a little crib for you, because the backs of the cards have every image on, apart from the rocket. Challenge 2, with a larger group, and they're reading this out, and you've seen this in the performance, with a larger group of images, remember the sequence in as much detail as you can. Now, I've left that vague on the instruction card on purpose, but what you're going to do is to now deal out 4 groups. And we're going to just plain blank read the marks in this case, because there are 4 groups. I'm going to deal them face up this time, or I might spread them to make it seem a little harder, but I'm going to go through and make sure that I really look at each image short amount of time. So like this, okay. So what I'm really doing now is looking at the top 2 or 3, so I know that these are all black and white, but I also know that's a short word, and that's a short word, and that's a long word. So as I scoop these up, I know that that's a short word without looking at the cards. I know that this one, because it goes on this axis, is a long word, and the next one is a short word. So I can place the first 3 without looking at the cards. It's a good throw off. Then I'm going to pause, I'm going to look here, and as I'm peeling this one off, I'm seeing the next one, peeling this one off, seeing the next one, that's going to go there. I'm going to point in the air a little bit as if I'm trying to remember what happened to go where, like I'm telling myself a little story. Sometimes I'll grab one, let me grab a random one. I don't know where it goes, I'll start putting it there, and as I look down to place it, I see it's in the right place sometimes, or in this case, in the wrong place, and I'll go, no, there. And then I'll carry on and move down here. Sometimes I'll do a few in a row, brute force, nice and fast. As I look at the cards and look up at them and look back down at the cards, I'm just breaking up the rhythm of just looking at the backs and dealing them off, because that is too obvious. But you can see from the performance that it's about the flow of this. And I think of this as I'm like disrupting the flow of just reading the marks, to do everything I can to throw them off. The last one I always will try and place somewhere, be wrong. Oh, excuse me, no, that one goes there. And then this is the reveal, right? The reveal for phase 2 is interesting because it starts off feeling like phase 1 and then they realize it's far beyond that. It's a very interesting place to go. So over here, what I've done is placed the images that are colorful. And if you want, you can read off the backs, right? So the hand, that's dog. I think this one was the eye. Yeah. Strong beat. Over here, I place the black and white images. You deal those out on the table. But you want to deal them out so they can see some of those words in a second, right? And they're thinking, okay, but what about the other 2 piles? Then you say, But I wasn't just doing that. If you look at these, and because they're on the horizontal axis, dog, hand, eye, phone, knife, drum, plane, boat, money, these are all words 5 letters or less. These ones, these are words with more than 5 letters, but colour over here. Look at this. We have watermelon, orange, snowflake, diamond, planets, pineapple down here, black and white, but with more than 5 letters. That's bicycle, chess piece. I think that was wine glass, yes. And I think if I got this right, was a light bulb. Look at that. And then it really punches them in the face. It feels like you've kept track of the length of different words, the distribution of colour. In pseudo, this used to be the 4 suits, but this is so much stronger. Now I scoop these up, everything goes kind of in 2 piles, and then we read challenge 3. Challenge 3, with 3 seconds on the clock, memorise the images left in play, mentally compare this with the images already played to discover which card was set aside before you began. So I'm now looking on the back of the card and I'm seeing where the volcano is, and that's my reminder. I said I wouldn't tell you again, but I have, but you already haven't forgotten. These can be shuffled up and mixed. I will spread these out, or often what I like to do is to dribble them in such a way that I'll see them all and I'll turn away. Here's a real big secret to making this real. I know that the volcano is a coloured image, and you'll get familiar with the deck as you go through, but I know that the volcano in here is a nice colourful image. So I'm going to look for one in the deck that is the same, in the sense of it's going to be a coloured image. So there's only 2 things to think about here. One is it coloured or black and white? And 2 is you're going to look for one of them in the remainder of the shuffled pack. So as I deal through or dribble through, I'm going to see the octopus, for example, and as soon as that last one hits the table, I'm looking away. I'm going to go, okay, in there are 50 images. I've seen most of them. I'll try and work backwards through the mental story that I've memorised to determine which one you hit at the beginning. I think seen all the man-made ones. The natural ones, there are 2 I don't remember seeing. I don't remember seeing the octopus. And now they're looking at the octopus on the table, right? But you're not looking. You go, the octopus? Oh, no, excuse me. That's on the table, isn't it? They say yes, the octopus. Okay, great. That means that in the box, the one you're hiding, it must be from memory the volcano. And they reach over, they take it out, and they freak out, and it's the volcano. So what we've done here is essentially be so far ahead by reading a mark at the beginning. Instead of a force, we give total freedom to the choice. We do 2 groups at the beginning, then we do 4 groups, and we finish with this flash memorization of what's left. And it just feels very real, with a very real and amazing prop. But I've given you all the detail I can. That idea of seeing one on the table, full credit there goes to Luke Jamay. He has an amazing card routine. He uses the same idea. I've borrowed that idea, and I give full credit and praise to him for that bit of brilliance. It really sells it. Once you turn away and you say, but there's 2 I don't remember seeing, both were colourful. One was an octopus. No, sorry, octopus is on the table. Is that right? They confirm that. It sounds like you're deducing what is missing, and then maybe they fell together or something. Now they've seen it. That confirms for you that that's not what they were thinking, and you're away. I love the framing of them having the ad card. I think that, combined with how amazing the prop looks and how real everything feels and how fooling the trick is, just by doing this alone, you could build a reputation for yourself as a memory master. And I promised you a completely no memory way to do this amazing routine, and here it is. If you get to the end and you can't remember what's in the box, that's fine. You have them open the box, take the card out, place it on the table. And if you don't know what's in there, if you really can't remember and nothing has jogged your memory, not the backs of the cards or your own real memories you go through, so it means that what's in there must be, in fact, take it out, put it face down on the table, and they do. And then you talk to yourself, it must be the volcano. Turn it over, it's there. All right, now let's look at grid memory. Okay, Lee, it is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
You don't know what's going to happen, right, really. I've been very vague. And really important is we don't know each other.
No.
Okay, so how is your memory?
Not too good. Seems to be getting worse these days.
Okay.
Getting a bit old.
Okay, no, you're not old, I'm sure. Okay, look, this is a little memory game, and we'll use it to test me, really, on my memory. And there are a few different things you can do with it. That one we'll come back to in a little bit, and how to play is not really for us today.
Okay.
But what this is, a bunch of different pictures. Sort of like flashcards, but not really. They have different images, they have the words. Some of them are in colour, though. I know you're observant, you can see. And some are not in colour. The reason for that is these are apparently, and it is true, less memorable because they're not colourful. Because the way you make something memorable is by pumping it full of colour, giving it movement, maybe making it funny. Yeah, it stands out in your brain, right? So something like fire is going to be more memorable than the image of a clock. So we're going to use these images to do a few interesting things. First one will be a warm-up, second one is really difficult, and then we'll kind of move into a different territory entirely. Okay?
Yep.
The best way to mix these, though, before we start, is for you to push them around the table. So go ahead. That's good. And I'll do this is a difficult task, to gather them all up, right? This is hard. All right. So far, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So cut off like a bunch of them, less than half. Okay, great.
Downwards,
Thank you so much. Yeah. And you want to mix these up a little more or not?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so you're going to take them, I'm going to turn away, deal them onto the table in like a grid, as neat as you can, but don't worry, we'll replace these in a second. Don't worry if some of them are the other way around and stuff like that,
Yeah.
okay? Because it'll actually make it a little harder for me, but if they're a little more...
As a grid, not a line, yeah?
Yeah, and as a grid, and if you want to add cards, take them away, feel free. I will not look as you do this, okay? So if you want to switch out the volcano and the hand, you can, all right? And tell me as soon as you're done. You done? All right, Lee, you're going to choose one of them that you like, but don't do it yet. So make a choice in your head, but don't physically do anything. Have you done that?
Yes.
I'm going to look at that very quickly, try and take a snapshot of that and memorize it, okay? Here we go. Okay. Now turn the choice that you made face down, but leave everything exactly where it is. But turn the one you like face down. Have you done that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try and look again and compare those two images, okay, in my mind, to then tell you which one you've hidden, all right? It might take me a second or two. Okay. This is the cat. Is it the cat?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Wow.
We can try this again, though. So to make it a little trickier, what I want you to do is I turn away. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm having a bit more of a moment. There was this one I wasn't sure of. So now take two of them, Lee. Any two that you like. Don't use the cat unless you really want to, but it will stand out if you use the same one.
Okay.
Turn two of them face down and then smush everything together.
Right, okay.
You're really thinking about these choices, and
yeah,
that's good.
trying to catch you out. Mush them all together with them face down still, yeah?
Yes, please. Okay, done?
Yeah.
I'm going to take them. I won't look at them. Look me dead in the eyes. I'm not looking at the images just yet. I'm going to deal through these. Did I miss two of them? Okay. I'm going to deal through them, and I'm going to try and clock which ones are face up, see which ones are there, compare that to before, and see which ones are not there. And I'll try and tell you two that are hidden, okay? I'll try. This is a little more tricky, okay? I'm not looking at them. This is the rocket and a volcano. There's the rocket. There's the volcano.
That's mad. Oh, holy hell. That's amazing. How's it?
We're just warming up. We're warming up. Okay.
Okay.
Look, there's a way we can actually really test this, because some people think, you might think, maybe, I know you scrambled them, but maybe I just, like, these go together actually. If you did this, they would go as one picture. But also maybe I just got lucky, maybe it was a guess, maybe it's just intuition, I don't know. It's not that, I'm telling you it's memory, but you can test if I really know all of these pictures properly by adding something that we don't know.
Okay.
Right? So you're going to take, you remember you mixed them all up at the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
Take I won't look in the direction of it, but take whichever one that is in a moment on top after the shuffling and the mixing. Look at it yourself. Don't show the camera in case you think they're helping me. They're not. Then place it face up with the rest, and then smush everything around the table again, and just make sure at the end that there's no overlapping images. All right.
Okay.
And then, as quick as you can, I'll try and tell you the added piece of information. This is the most difficult aspect of this, because it's
And it's face up when I mush them again? Yep.
so everything's face up this time, right?
Okay.
Ready? Try and do this in a second, maybe half a second. I'll be really quick, okay?
Yep, go on.
All right. Okay, it's the umbrella. This one?
Yeah.
Is that it? All right.
How quick? You couldn't even scan them that quick.
No, that's what I'm trying to do. Is it's a weird skill that I practice. I do it with sometimes like jelly beans, sheep in the field when we drive past the motorway, things like that.
That's mad, man. I don't know how you could sort of even take those in at the end, that last one, so quick, let alone in your mind figure out, oh, there's the extra one.
Yeah.
I'm just more intrigued, to be fair. I'm trying to figure it out in my head, you know, how with my memory, it's terrible. I wouldn't even remember 4 or 5 of those if you turn them back over.
I really like the staging of it. I like that it uses table space. I like that it shows a lot of images. And I really like that I've choreographed this so that every time you're reading a mark, it's justified. Probably the easiest thing on this whole instructional. So why don't we just take a look at what it appears to look like, what the trick is, and then we'll come back and talk about how it works. Good, so the cards are shuffled up. They cut some images off and they deal them out onto the table into a grid. This is what I love about this way of using MEMORAID. It really makes everything look interesting. And let's add another one. There we go. So we're looking now at this grid on the table. Now it feels like we're doing something you might do with this kind of game where you're matching up or playing snap or turning things over, or that game that we all know where everything is face down and you have to turn over the ones that connect or match. They do this, they shuffle them up, you say deal them out in a grid, and now you turn away. So you're happy with how they are? Yes, great. Let me take a look. Okay. Turn one of them face down, and they do that, right? Let me try and see if I can do this. I'm going to have one more look. Okay, and here's what I do. I look at them, obviously. Nothing has changed. My eye line is totally motivated to look at the face down image because I'm looking. That would draw your attention, and it does because it's the only different one. I read the mark on the back, so I go straight to here, wherever I see the dark colour. I read that it's the world. I look at everything else, I look away. So I think that's the world, is that right? They turn it over, it is the world. That's the first part done. Okay. Let's try this. This time, we'll make it a little harder because we'll change the sequence. Turn over any two and then scoop everything together and give them a mix. So say they turn over fire and then knife, and then they give them a mix. Okay, great. And they hand them to you. I don't look at them even though I can see the top one. I say, let me try this. It's really hard. Okay, here we go. And my favorite part, I'm dealing through them now, okay? I'm dealing through them. The condition is there are two face down, but because they're marked, we can read them, okay? So I'm dealing through them. I do this really fast, and I'm reading that it's the knife and it's fire. I look away, it's a knife and fire. Turn them over, it is. It's so justified. It has a nice rhythm to it. It's bub, 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 look away. This and this, is that it? Turn them over, done. So if this is true, if I've really remembered these, the only way you can test that is by adding something I don't know. So I look away, take this one, and now I look here and I tap. Now this shuffled everything, remember. I say take this one, place it in with the rest, mix everything together, and scatter them all over the table. So not in a grid this time, right? It's messy, it's orientation confused, it's difficult to do this anyway. And now I turn around as I try and do this really quickly, okay, ready? It's the padlock. And now I point to it. In case they haven't noted the word or the text, they will have remembered the image. It is that, I turn it face down, that's the end of the trick. So all I'm doing is reading the marks 3 times, but I'm just so far ahead and I'm justified in where I'm looking. I'm always saying what is hidden or added when I'm facing away. So 2 are face down, we don't know what. I mean, I'm seeing them now, but you wouldn't know. I deal through. I'm reading the mark. I look away. I say the first one and do this for this side, second one for this side. Turn them over. That's those, done. And then I say the only way, if I've really memorized these to test me, is to add some extra. So take this one, I know it's the flower, right? They're going to add it in and push them around, scatter them all on the table, make sure you can see them all. And now I look from a slight distance very quickly, click my fingers usually, look away, I tell them what they've added, that's the end of it. I think it looks really pretty on the table. So I already spoke to you about the history of this and where it came from, but I should say, you know, this was in development for about 3 years. It took a long time to really get right. I was going to do it with a couple of different magic companies. It's a lot of work to design all of this with the marked backs that do everything so specifically with the groups, the categories, to have original colouring and images, the box, and then all the routines and stuff that go with it. So it took a long time to get right. An important part after I was playing around with Predictable, long before it came out, an important aspect to this that soaked over from Predictable and, as I said earlier, from places like Real Secrets and The Jerks and that world of magic and mentalism, was that this was a real game. So I sat down and developed a real game that you can play with this that is actually quite a lot of fun and that is real. You know, so if you do have this laying around, someone does ask, you can show them the game, but you can also, if you want, show them the trick. So really, for the cost, you are getting a game that you can really play with your friends and family, but you're also getting a whole load of secret stuff you can do with the same prop. So these cards are mixed up, and I'll talk you through the game. In fact, we can get the how to play add card out of the box. That gives you all of the rules should you need it. But the way the game works, literally shuffle the cards, remove 5 at random. Okay, so I'm really not going to use the marks for this, I promise. And then we'll talk about how we can use those. So remove 5 at random. In 5 seconds, memorize them, turn one of them face down, leave the other 4 face up. So here we go. So now I mix them. I'm really not looking. I'm really going to set one of them. Where did I put the box? Ah, there we go. One of them under the box. Really not looking. Okay, really not looking. It's hidden. Okay, good. And I will deal this, and it's the world is the one that's missing. There's the world. Okay, it's really easy. It's just 5 images. It's really not that hard. It's very similar to how it feels to learn the initial phase for the ultimate memory test. But then we add a second and we add an extra card, and it's a brain. Now, I already know what that is, so I carry on through. And this is how you can really hook people in. Now, it is a real game, so you will hit your limit and you'll find your score. But I recommend that you go, it's a brain in this case, and I swear I'm not looking at the marks to do this. I can get up to a very reasonable number with this, but of course, it's marked if we so want to. So say let's add a few more in. Let's say we get to this stage, and that's what you're happy with. And if you do that every single day, you really will be increasing your memory. It's a good exercise to make yourself do every day. It really is. It keeps your brain active. But it's a fun game to play. If you do this and you hit your limit at 23 and everyone's kind of cheering you on and trying to do it at the same time, and then they have a go and they look out at 21, and then someone else has a go and they get to 40 somehow, it's interesting and it's competitive and it's a real game. You add 1 second and 1 card per each time as you go through, and then you determine what's missing. So the time and the number of cards grows through until you find your limit. And it really is about building an image, an idea, a thought on top of what you already understand, making a story in your head if you want to do it that way. It is a fun game that you can play, and it is kind of addictive should you try it. You've got how to play it here, it's all explained, but what I want to talk about very quickly is how simply you can use the game to always win at the game, to show that you've mastered your memory. So, with all of that in mind, it's a simple matter of just reading one single mark. So you get to this point and you say, why don't you mix them up so it's harder? Okay, great, and now we'll go through. Okay, and we'll leave one of them face down. Okay, yeah, oh no, that's the how many seconds? Car. So it's just a matter of reading the face down mark, but the way that the game has been created so that the instructions and the format of the game allow 1 card to be face down so that it's very, very easy for you to read the mark on that 1 card so that you can then go and know what that card is every single time. I don't suggest that you should play this game to hustle your friends or mess around with people in that sense, but it is kind of fun to just be able to play this game with someone and then find that you're really, really good at it. Let's dive into the second half of what this can do. So initially, this was meant to be a game. It was all meant to be a framing, a context, and a prop that I could use for my pseudo routine that I published in 2015. Over time, that developed, and then obviously by proxy, with my other background being in mentalism and mind reading, I started using this for other purposes. And I want to talk about some of those right now. And I'll just go through them as we talk like this, rather than break it into different sections. It's worth thinking about even something as simple as forcing one of these cards. If you force one that links to the person or something they like or something they do or where you are or anything like that. Very interesting and a good way to pepper in different layers of smoke and a really good way to pepper in misdirection away from the idea of marked cards. If you have someone take a card that is forced like this, and you're not even looking at the cards, and then someone else is to cut them and take the top one after you've seen that it's the telephone. It just layers up the different methods and possibilities, making this ultra, fooling. So all of that being said, there's something very cool built in. It allows you to have a spectator choose an image, goes inside their pocket with you at distance or out the room, and then you can know exactly what that thing is without any fishing or anything. All right, so this comes in two parts. This actually arrived in my brain probably only about 5-6 months ago, and I've had a lot of fun with it. It's very, very simple. It utilizes the idea of forcing a card and then the connection that image has with something else within the deck. It also kind of naturally came about because of the properties of the deck itself. So what you'll need to do is to go through and remove the diamond card, which you can find by looking at the backs, the marks, or just the faces in secret. And you'll place this, I do it 6th down from the top. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 6 down from the top. So diamond, because they're marked, I can check that they're there. I'm then able to shuffle in whichever way that you like or prefer to keep those on the top. So that should still be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or you can do a lopsided riffle shuffle, keeping that on this side. Or you can do an ose cut. Or you can just shuffle in the hands and shuffle face up and keep that top stock in place like that. There are many different ways to go. Or just don't shuffle, it's fine. I'm going to push off 3 cards. And I'm going to push off 2 cards. I'm going to call the 6th card, which is the diamond, and I'm going to force this card. So please, as I go through, tell me to stop somewhere. They say stop, and I'll touch any card. That one right there, great. Take a look at it and remember what it is. And I force the diamond on them. So now they're thinking of a diamond. Drop that back on top, and with my head turned away, I'll shuffle. So I'm really not looking at the cards, selling that idea, and shuffling up like this. All great, okay? Really fair, really lost in there. You can cut as well if you like. Take the images and go across the room so I can't see, and go through and find an image that connects really strongly with the thing that you just looked at. So it's a brand new thought, one that I couldn't know, but any choice that you like, go through, find one, place it in your pocket, and then come back over with the cards like this in your hand. And if you now look through the deck yourself, and we'll do this together very quickly, ring is the only thing in here that connects strongly with the idea of a diamond. The strongest connection really is diamond, ring. That's how we think of it, a diamond and a ring. If you want extra security, extra safety, you can go the other way. You can have ring and they'll go through and find diamond. Either way works, but I like to do it this way with diamond, and then they go through and find ring. I think this is interesting because when you layer this with the other aspects of mind reading that are possible with MEMORAID, it means that you're having someone take out an image that it sounds like they're choosing from many, when really there's just one choice, and they're putting it in their pocket with you at distance. So when they come back and you say, look, you took anything, you thought of anything, you used that to arrive at something new, and that's in your pocket right now. Is that true? Great. Put the cards in the box. Great. Think about the image. Don't tell me what it is. Okay? And you reveal what this is, but it's that direct, and it just, again, is another way to add extra layers to disguise the fact that this is a marked image deck. And if you pepper it in at the right moments, it can really change people's understanding of what's possible. I think it's just worth talking about some simple choreographies that I've used when I've done this in strolling situations. Very often, when I work in a strolling environment, I will work as a mind reader. But on stage, I'm the memory guy or the mind reader. In walk around, I am the mind reader. And this, for me, fits both, boots. It fits memory and mind reading, and they perfectly just marry together to complement each other. So in walk around, the way I use this really is to separate the images so that we have the 25 natural colored images, long and short words over here, and the black and white ones. I'll put the line drawings, the non-color images away in the box, and then from the box, I'll remove the Memory Master How to Play Add card, and I'll place that on the top of the deck, and now band it. And what this creates is a 26 card, so much thinner, bridge-sized image deck that's fully marked, that is perfect for strolling mind reading. It takes up much less space, and it still has the context as if we were using the box, but I leave these at home. So I bring these out, I take off the band, I say, oh, actually, this is a part of a memory game. We can play it later if you like, and I'll put that away in my pocket with the rubber band. show the backs, and I shuffle up the faces and let them mix. And I say, it's something to do with these different images and memorizing the sequence or the groups of them or something like that. We'll do something else. And that's all I say. And then I give them to shuffle up. And one of my favorite choreographies is to let them shuffle. And then before they know where we're going or what we're going to do, I'll say, and cut the cards, please. And now I know on top is a watermelon. And I'll say this, and it's kind of cheeky, but it's great. I'll say, I will not even look in the direction of the cards. Have a look at the very top image after the cut. So they do, and it's the watermelon. And now place it in the middle somewhere. And now give them another mix and a final cut. Okay, great. Can I turn around? I won't see anything. Great. And now I take them, I don't even look at them, and I drop them in my pocket. I really like doing it that way. I know within 5 or 10 seconds, they're thinking of a watermelon in this case. Everything looks nice. It's simpler to explain because we don't have the divide of colour, non-colour. The add card gives everything context. It takes up less pocket space, and it really is like a machine gun. It's so good. You can do that over here, great. Are you done? I can't see anything. Pass the cards to him. Okay, great. You do the same, mix them up, give them a cut, wait for my next instruction. Think about yours. Good. It's something natural, something colourful. They're all natural and colourful, but they don't know that. Okay, great. This is something you would eat. Have a look at the top one for me. Okay, good. This is, you're thinking of, it's like crunchy, but it's also soft, red coloured. It's a watermelon. Is that right? Good. And yours, a volcano, and it is the volcano. Like, it can be that rapid fire and quick and fast, but it's very, very strong for a strolling mind reader. It again has the perfect context and takes up a tiny amount of pocket space, and for that reason I really, really like it for that situation. It's also really interesting and totally possible to have 2 or 3 people each take an image. So to have someone shuffle them, take the top one, that's a pineapple, I'm going to remember pineapple, go to the next one, give them a cut or give them a shuffle, okay great, take the next one, that's an apple, pineapple, really easy to remember in this case, shuffle them up, and why don't you take one as well, actually take one out, pineapple eye, okay, we've got 3 people. I will not look in the direction of the card, so look at your card, look at your image and then hold it flat between your hands. I like to call them images for the most part, but when I'm handling them or putting them away or talking about the physical object, I'm calling them cards because I want there to be a disconnect from the image to the card. So pineapple eye, okay, really easy to remember those, but if they're anything from these colourful ones or any of the images and any of the combination of the cards possible, super easy. So again, it's part of memory game, we won't play it right now. In fact, mix them up. Why don't you shuffle them, cut, take the top one, and why don't you take one, and why don't you take one? Okay, great. Remember what those are. I won't look in the direction of the cards. If you remember them all, hold them in your hand so I can't see. Can I look? I won't see anything. Okay, great. This is something natural, something edible, something kind of prickly, spiky, but you can chew it at the same time. This is, are you thinking of a pineapple? Great. Oh, when I said that, you reacted. Is this something also? Oh, apple, is that right? And yours is interesting because it's, there's a saying, there's a phrase, it's in your head right now as I say that. It's about someone, there's someone you know that has the apple of your eye. You're thinking of an eye? You are, okay, great. And it's a lot of fun to try and connect these things together, and actually the more you do it, the more you'll see these natural connections, and it's a playground waiting to be enjoyed. For a walk around mind reader, I'm telling you from experience, it's an invaluable thing to have in your case, have in your pocket. It can be the perfect way into having a real person draw a picture, but I just have always loved how rapid fire this is. Don't underestimate this. You can play the memory game and say, I've actually been using these cards as well to practice mind reading. I've been trying to learn how to read minds. So shuffle them up, have a look at one, put it inside the box, don't let me see. Okay, just think about what that is. And now you can reveal that in any way you like. What I found with these images is truthfully that, obviously they're good for memory and they're good for practicing memory, whether you're young or not. And there is a game I'll show you the game in a bit. But one thing that I like to do is to try and really get inside people's heads. Okay. And I told you off camera before, that's how I got into memory, was I was actually doing a show that was mind reading. And these images are specifically good for that purpose. So I'm going to once again ask you to push these around the table. In fact, you can shuffle them in your own hands. Okay. Because then you can really trust it. I'll square them up for you. So give them a shuffle in your hands.
Not the best
like
shuffle.
That's fine, there's no judgment. And then onto the table, you'll cut them like you would cut the cards.
Yeah.
Not the best shuffle. You did a great job there. What are you talking about? Okay, and then complete that on top. Now I'm going to look away. I'm not going to look in the direction of the images. I want you to take that top one, stick the rest of them in your pocket, look at the top one, remember it, then also put that in your pocket. So I really can't see it or know it. And watch me the whole time as well. I'm going to look that way. I'm not looking in your direction, okay?
Okay.
Okay, everything's away, right?
Yeah.
So I've asked you to think of a picture. Just think of it.
Okay.
Think of your picture. And I shouldn't know this, right? It's random.
No.
It's impossible. I'm not sure. Still not sure, Lee.
I'm
This
thinking
is
of it. I'm thinking of
Yeah,
it.
you're thinking of it. Changing this twice. This feels better. You're doing a good job. What is it you're thinking of?
Can I say, yeah?
Yeah.
Chess piece. What the heck?
Was it
get
really
it.
a chess piece?
Yeah.
You messing with me, or
No,
is?
no, of course. Where is it?
Oh, okay.
Amazing. Not the best drawing.
No.
but
All right.
that is fantastic. I thought you weren't going to get it, honestly, because
I wasn't sure. I honestly
I
wasn't.
was thinking about it. That is fantastic. I love it.
It just is so flexible. Before we close off this section of all of the mind reading possible with these amazing images and this amazing prop, I want to talk to you about something that I'm extremely excited about called a Linguistic Svengali. This is a stack that allows you to know a lot of information about the image that someone's looked at before you peek the mark, but it needs no memory work to use. It's super easy, super simple, and so this idea of a linguistic Svengali came from something I'll be sharing in the rapid fire bonus section. This combines an idea of a stack with reading the marks. You need to separate the cards into the 4 groups. Best way to do that, fastest way to do that. If you do it the faces up, probably take you longer than if you do it with the faces down. Over here, we'll end up with the man-made black and white images with 5 letters or less. They'll all be on my right. Closest to you will be the images that are man-made, so they're black and white line drawings, but they are more than 5 letters, so 6 and up. So we've got padlock, ice cream, lighthouse, computer, bicycle. Over here, we have the long words that are colored images, things like orange, snowflake, volcano. These are all going to be 6 letters or more. Flower, pine cone, pineapple, they're all in there. And then over here, we have cat, eye, dog, world, all the stuff that's 5 letters or less, but colorful images. Why do we do this? Well, these are actually opposite to each other if we stack them for the linguistic Svengali, as it were. So if you take the long black and white images and the short colorful images, and we alternate them like this, just by dealing them, this is obviously the setup part of it. You're not going to do this in front of people. There we go. That now means that if we cut these, and if you take the top or the bottom card, and I don't see it, which I really haven't, if I look at the mark on the top card now, and I can see that it's fire, I know that fire is a colourful image. So because it's a colourful image and it's less than 5 letters, I know that what is over here, the one that they've chosen in this case, will be a long word. It will be a black and white image, more than 5 letters. So it's also, because we know it's black and white, we know it's man-made. So I can actually, without reading the mark yet, I can say, think about what this is. Think of how many letters this is. Spell it out in your head, count the number of letters, go. 7 letters? I don't know what that is, I'm not going to look yet. They'll say yes or no, they'll tell me. So, but before you tell me, it's more than 5, isn't it? 6, 7, something like that, yes, okay, it's a hit. Now I know the number of letters, so now I can start dwindling this down. I can then say, okay, think about whether this is man-made or natural. This is something man-made, isn't it? Yes. And when you look at it one more time, don't let me see. Okay, when you look at that, it's a black and white image that you just saw that you have in your imagination, in your memory, but really you're thinking about this in color, aren't you? They'll say yes, right? 3 hits before you even read the mark. Now you can say, lift your hand off, push it all the way in the middle, and I know it's umbrella now, and I'm able to reveal that. Interesting idea that allows you to reveal, I'd say, just over half of what that thing is. You're revealing if it's man-made or natural. You're revealing if it's a coloured image or a black and white image and how they're thinking about that. You're also revealing whether it's less or more than 5 letters. You really don't need to know anything. It's just intuitively different, the opposite from what you see. So we can enhance this, though, if we do the same with the other 2 piles, right? So now we have the 5 letters or less, man-made, and the longer natural images. We're going to alternate those. Place those 2 packets together. We'll memorize what's here, and I like to go through both packets and put something next to each other that makes sense together. So in this case, match is next to fire. So the top of this packet is match, the bottom of this one is fire, and I'm going to put next to that, I'm going to put light bulb, and I'm going to put umbrella. You don't have to do this. It's just, you just need to know that after fire, if you see that or around there, so if I see light bulb, fire or match, I'm around the midpoint, all right? So I don't want to see any of those things really. So there's no memory at all. It's just intuitively the opposite of whatever you peek or see. So let me explain. So if they cut anywhere and take this one and we really don't see it and I put it under the box, I promise you I've not seen that and I can't see it. I can see that on top of the deck as I set these aside with the cards face down the whole time. Because I don't even want to look in the direction of the cards. They won't face me. All of this extra layers that makes it seem more impossible. I know that on top of here is cat, right? And because that's a coloured image and it's natural, I know that what's under the box is a man-made image and it's black and white. But because cat's a 3-letter word, I know that what's under the box is going to be a longer word. It's going to be 6 letters or more. So I'm going to start by saying, count the number of letters in your head, spell it out. If you need to use your fingers, do it under the table. Okay, you've stopped. Is that 7 letters? They're going to say yes or no. I'll look now, right? So it's lighthouse, L-I-G-H-T-H-O-U-S-E. It's as long as 10 letters. More, it's definitely 6 or more. It's a long word. Is that right? Yes. How many letters is it? 10. Okay, great. Now remember, I still don't know what's there. I don't know it's lighthouse, right? So I've seen cat. I know it's a long word. Think of whether this is a man-made thing or a natural thing. Don't tell me. It's man-made, isn't it? Yes. Another hit, right? 2 hits. Think of whether the image is colourful or black and white. This is it's a black and white image. Is that right? Yeah, but you're thinking of this in colour. 3 hits. Yes. Okay, great. I'll tell you what. Push it into the middle somewhere so I really can't get to it. Okay, great. And now I read the mark. You hold on to everything. It's a lighthouse. So what this does is delay the moment that you peek, but allows you to reveal information before you've even read the mark, adding layers to this idea of having marks. Should they begin to suspect that for whatever reason, maybe you've used these a bit too much because you'll absolutely love using them, you can do this or the diamond ring in the pocket, stuff like that to really layer this up to create those separations. So again, if we cut here, and I really won't look at what's under my hand, I know on top is elephant, right? I know that's a coloured image, but I know it's a long word. So I know under here is a black and white short word. And because everything is on the back here apart from rocket, you can actually look here and it acts as like a crib. Now you don't want to stare at the back of the cards too much, but as kind of a memory aid, as I look there, I'm going to try and find something that is 5 letters or less, that's black and white, that is a man-made thing. I know on top here is elephant, which is colourful. Let's have a look at that, show you the elephant. And it's a long word, so short, black and white. I'm going to take a guess. I really don't know, but this will be something like money. It will be keys. It will be something like phone. Look, and it's phone, right? One of the 3 ones that I guess. So before I even read the mark, I can take a guess. And if I'm wrong, I can then say, you know what, put it back in there for me. We'll put those. And why don't you put it in the box? Because I want to have you do something else. Think about drawing this, hold onto my wrist, and I'm going to do it as muscle reading or something. So this is a way to stack the deck. So you can only cut the deck here. You can only do chop shuffles like this, or I would say cut. So whatever false cuts or false shuffles you like. I honestly think this is a great thing to do for someone who's seen you use these before. And if they say, hey, can I shuffle? Say, yeah, sure. And now you just go into the reading the marks. You go into grid memory or ultimate memory test, or you go into any of the mind reading things we talked about. You can go through spot the diamond, you can have them take anything out and just think of it. There are endless possibilities with this, but what I like the most is that there is endless flexibility, and I think that's the real key here that makes a difference. You have the ability to really improve your memory as you learn the ultimate memory test phase 1, but you have the safety net of the marks. You have the real ability to intuitively almost really try and work out what image they're thinking of without ever reading the mark, with the safety net of knowing that if you need to, you can just look at the mark. You can do so much with MEMORAID that I really hope that this has inspired you so far. But if it hasn't, we're about to dive into the rapid fire bonus section. I will give myself a timer with only 1 minute to tell you about different ways that I have used MEMORAID, the deck, the idea, the game, the context. I'm doing this with the hope that these instructions don't become so long that people don't watch them, but also with the hope that you'll go away from this massively inspired. All of these are things that I've tried out in performance settings and casual settings. They're all things I've done and still do with MEMORAID. First idea is literally an idea of stand-up memory demonstration for walk around. So you introduce the idea of the game, you have somebody shuffle them, they can mix them any way that they like, they probably won't do that. They will then take a group, you'll ask them to hold out their hands, you'll deal them onto their hands and remember them. Okay, and I'll usually have someone time me when I do this. Now you can take them behind your back, take any 2, actually do 3 and turn them the wrong way. Hold your hands out like this, I'll try and go through and work out what I don't see and compare that to before. Okay, that was a balloon boat and a boat. So the balloon, there we go, and a match and a boat. So there we go through there. So the idea is to go through, deal through, that's a balloon, boat and a match. Have a look. And they can turn them over. It's super punchy. And I've gone over my 1 minute for this idea. Something I've always really, really liked is Jack Kent Tiller's Memory Pill Act. It's a book or a booklet. You can go and search it out. There's actually a whole load of booklets by him. They're all incredible. I don't know how easy or hard they are to find now, but they're all worth searching out, full of very, very interesting material. And it's this concept, this idea that doing memory can sometimes be hard, because if you're the memory guy, which I've chosen to be, you get people coming up to you and asking you, to demonstrate that, or asking you certain things about that. I have certain things in the shows that I do in place so that if people say they've seen me before, I can reference things that feel like they were very specific to that show, but maybe they weren't. But the Memory Pill Act gives you a way out of that. It gives you a way to take, say, like a little pill or a tablet or something, and to then have these memory powers that then dissolve or fade away over time. So that is a good framing for everything you've seen on this project. And you can go to vitamin shops and buy something really called MEMORAID, and it's a vitamin that improves your memory, so use that as the presentational hook for this. So if you separate out all the coloured images, and then you put the add card for how to play on the top, and then you stick an elastic band, a rubber band around that, you now have one deck that you can use in strolling or walk around, 26 cards. If you do the same with the other deck that's all black and white, you have another one, which means you now have 2 separate decks that you can use for strolling or walk around, splitting this one deck, this one image deck, into 2 decks that are distinctly different and interesting. You can have people take images from one and move them into the other half. They won't know that each others are coloured or not coloured. You can mix them so that they're all short words on one side and long words on the other, and have deck separation that way. But this idea of stripping it down to have 2 separate decks that you use maybe at 2 different times, I think is really interesting. And I've had a lot of use from this just by using the add card as the way to create the context for what we're about to do. So it's an interesting one. It's about using a peek with the box and the shuffled images, not using the marks. And it looks like this. Someone calls stop. They look at an image. That then goes back on top of the cards, and everything goes like this. Inside the box, and I can tell you it's a wine glass. It's very easy. So I'm dribbling everything. I'm putting that like this, so very far off center, riffling up and sliding that forward, so this back card is down jogged, if you like. Because of the size of the cards, I'm able to then cover that here. And now I'm seeing here, as I place everything inside the box, I'm looking inside my hand to see everything, and then from the front, it's sticking out like this, but I'm covering it, slamming it in. So the 4 packets is something that I mentioned earlier, but if you separate the 4 groups within the deck and place them on the table like this, short, long, you can actually from across the room have somebody pick up a packet, shuffle it, take out any card and put it in their pocket, And just from seeing which packet they pick up, you can know if it's 5 letters or more or 5 letters or less, whether it's natural or man-made, and therefore whether it's coloured or black and white. You know, put that in the pocket, gather up the rest of the cards, shuffle them all together and place them inside of the box. You can realise they don't have the box. You can walk over to them, take everything, put it inside the box, have them push theirs in, and from there, having already revealed a few chunks of information about their thought, you can then know specifically by reading the mark which one they thought of. Another minute on the clock. Something I really have used this for, and it's interesting, especially if you want to try to learn how to do this, is something called the Amazing Memory Test. You can use this to generate things that are then listed and remembered by you and by the whole audience, or by just the one person you're doing this for. And that's interesting by itself, but it gets more interesting when you actually go through and pick out specific images that connect together in a funny way that you can appear to be creating an impromptu story about to aid the memory as you teach them real memory. But really it's a force. You can do something like a cross-cut force, or there's some clever forces where you can have people cut cards, isolate them face up. I recommend just the cross-cut force, and you can force then a bank of 10 cards that you just never shuffle. Take those 10 cards, deal them off onto the table, reversing the order, putting them into the order you want, and then from there you can pretend to do the amazing memory test, but then teach a really planned out mnemonic so that they can really feel good about themselves and their memory ability. Cross-cut force is a great force. We all like it a lot, and it's amazing. It's interesting that you can combine marked cards, and I know I'm not the first person to talk about this, but you can combine a marked deck, in this case an image deck, a card memory game, with the idea of cross-cut force. So I can actually put the cards in your hands, have you shuffle all of the cards. I can see what's on top is plain. I can have you cut the cards, put the rest on top, and now look at the card when I'm away from you. And I don't have to put a card in place before doing the force, and I don't have to do anything. So really hands-off, force, no force of a specific image that isn't specific at all. I'm going to explain this one in 10 seconds. You can do out of this world any handling that you like, where the end is that all the coloured images are separated from all the black and white images. Very interesting thing to do if you frame it as a spectator having an incredible ability to memorize things subconsciously. I mean, I love mirror skill. I think it's a great trick. I think there are lots of incredible versions out there, and there are too many to mention. But because of the nature of this deck having black and white images and colour images, it is totally possible and very plausible and logical to play something like mirror skill, where you take 2 cards, and that would be a discard, and that would be a match, and you go through the deck playing what feels like snap or something like that, so that you're playing mirror skill as if it were a real game, but with memory cards. One final bonus, this is not part of the rapid fire bonus round, but it is worth knowing. Something we built into the marked back design of MEMORAID is really useful. It's useful for all sorts of tricks. It's useful for simple locations of thought of images. It's a useful thing to just have in your arsenal should you want it. And you can actually, if you want, use this for phase 1 of the ultimate memory test instead of the flower compass marks, if you like. The clock in the middle, in the very center of the card, the clock actually makes the back design a one-way back design. Everything else on the back of the card is the same this way as it is this way, which means that washing the cards and then gathering makes no difference to the orientation of the marks. Apart from the clock in the middle, which is like this. That was a weird way to do it, like this. So that if it's turned upside down, it's the only one that looks different. Obviously, from the face, they have the same property, but that is a lot less subtle. But in this case, you can have one taken, you can spin the deck around and have someone place one back in and let them shuffle. And now by dealing through or spreading, you're able to see where their one image is. And then once you can locate that, you can read the other mark to know what it is. So again, creating really fair hands-off ways where you're delaying the read of the mark or actually reading a whole different mark.